The night on Colony Street 12 was colder than usual. The neon lights flickered weakly, and the air smelled like metal and smoke. People walked fast, keeping their coats close and their eyes down. No one wanted trouble. No one wanted to notice anything that might slow them down. But two small figures were impossible not to notice. They were alien twins, thin, pale, shaking, and clearly starving. Their steps were slow and unsteady, like their bodies might fall any second. Their clothes were torn, their feet bare, and their eyes wide with fear. They looked around carefully before taking any step. Every sound made them jump. Humans passed by without a second glance. Everyone had heard the stories about alien orphans. Don't get close to them. They bring trouble. Let them survive on their own. The galaxy was harsh. No one had time for kindness. The twins, barely 8 years old, pressed themselves against the wall to avoid blocking anyone's way. They whispered to each other in a soft alien language only they understood. Their voices were weak, almost fading into the cold wind. Then something happened. A human man walked fast down the street, tall, wearing a heavy jacket, carrying bags like he had a long day. As he rushed forward, something slipped from his pocket and fell to the ground. A wallet. Credits spilled out. Humans rarely dropped things, and no alien child ever dared touch a human's belongings. Everyone knew the rule. Humans were at the top of the chain. Their reactions were unpredictable. Their anger was deadly. Their laws were strict, but the twins were desperate and kind. They stared at the wallet. It wasn't theirs. It didn't belong to them. And even though they were hungry enough to faint, they didn't touch the credits. They only looked at each other, nodded quietly, and then slowly approached the wallet. One twin Lyra reached out her trembling hand. The other twin Rennie kept watch, her heart beating fast. She whispered, "Be quick, humans get angry." Lyra picked it up gently. They both turned toward the human who had already walked far ahead. This was the dangerous part. Returning something to a human could be seen as interrupting them. Stopping a human in public was considered risky. Many aliens had been slapped, pushed, or punished for less, but the twins knew what was right. Their mother had taught them kindness before she died. Even now, starving and freezing, they still believed in doing the right thing. They walked faster, trying to catch him. Their small feet slapped against the cold pavement. Renna called out softly, her voice barely a whisper at first. "Sir." "Human, sir." The man didn't hear. They tried again, louder this time. Their thin voices cracked from fear and cold. "Sir." "You dropped something." People stopped walking, eyes turned. Whispers started. "Are those alien kids calling a human? They must be crazy. He'll get furious." No one disturbs a human like that. Even the humans walking nearby slowed down, expecting a scene. The twins didn't know any of this. They just wanted to return the wallet before someone else took it. Finally, the human stopped. He slowly turned around. His tall figure cast a long shadow over the cold pavement where the two tiny children stood. His expression was unreadable. Strong jaw, sharp eyes, tired face. He looked like someone who had seen too much in life. The crowd held its breath. The twins froze instantly. Their legs shook. Lyra hid the wallet behind her small back for a second, unsure if she should give it or drop it. Renna pushed her forward. Gently. The human stared at them, then at their bare feet. Their shaking bodies, their thin arms, their terrified faces. He didn't speak. They didn't speak. For 5 long seconds, the street felt completely silent. Even the wind stopped. Finally, Lyra held out the wallet with both hands, her fingers trembling so much that the wallet almost fell. "You dropped this," she whispered. Everyone expected him to shout, or accuse them of stealing, or call security. But something strange happened. The human's expression shifted, not to anger, but to confusion, then concern. He stepped closer, and both twins instantly stepped back. He lowered himself to their level. His voice was soft, but the crowd still watched with fear. "Why are you shaking?" he asked. The twins didn't answer. They were too cold and too scared. He looked at their hands again, small, blue from cold, wrapped tightly around the wallet they could have stolen. But didn't. That moment changed everything. And it was only the beginning. Jace, the human man, stayed crouched. As he looked at the two trembling alien twins, they stood there like frightened animals, unsure if they should run or collapse. The cold night made their breaths visible thin, white clouds escaping their mouths with every shaky inhale. The wallet was still in Lyra's small hands. She held it tightly, like she expected someone to snatch it or blame her any moment. Rena stayed close behind her sister, holding her arm for support, her eyes darting left and right as if searching for escape routes. Jace gently took the wallet from Lyra's hands. His fingers brushed against hers, and in that moment he felt how cold she truly was. Her skin was icy, almost painful to touch. He frowned sharply, not with anger, but worry. "Where are your parents?" he asked softly. The twins lowered their heads immediately. Their bodies tensed, their eyes filled with fear. Jace already knew the answer. He stood up slowly, trying not to scare them more. But the crowd around them whispered louder now. Why is he talking to them? He should leave. Everyone knows alien orphans are trouble. Humans don't deal with their kind. What if they tried to pickpocket him? Jace heard every word, and it annoyed him. These children, bare feet, freezing, starving, had returned his wallet untouched. That alone said more about their character than the entire crowd watching like vultures. He turned his attention back to the twins. "What are your names?" he asked. The twins looked at each other first, silently asking permission. Then Lyra whispered, "Lyra." "I am Lyra." Rena stepped forward slowly. "I am Rena." Jace nodded. "Lyra, Rena, good names." The girls blinked, confused. Humans were supposed to be harsh, cold, and strict. That's what they always heard. Yet, this human said their names like they mattered. Suddenly, a gust of icy wind hit the street. Lyra winced as it cut through her torn clothes. She hugged herself tightly, her small body shaking even harder. Jace saw it. Without thinking too much, he took off his jacket and wrapped it around both girls. His jacket was big, heavy, warm. It swallowed their tiny bodies completely. They gasped in surprise. "And no, we can't take," Rena tried to say, but Jace interrupted gently. "You're freezing." "Wear it." The crowd murmured again, shocked. He gave them his jacket. "Why? They're not human. That's risky." He's too close to them. But Jace didn't care. He was a tired man, but not a cruel one. He looked at their shaking knees and thin arms. Their bodies were so fragile, they looked like they might break if someone pushed them too hard. "When did you last eat?" he asked. The twins said nothing. Their silence was the answer. Jace sighed. "Okay, come with me." Instantly, panic lit up their faces. Lyra grabbed Rena's hand tightly. "No. No, go," Lyra cried softly. "We didn't steal. We didn't do wrong." Rena added, tears forming. Jace paused, realizing what they thought. Every alien orphan knew the stories. Humans took children who bothered them. And those children never came back. He knelt again, making his voice gentle. "I'm not taking you to security," he said. "I'm taking you somewhere warm." The twins didn't trust it. How could they? No one had ever helped them before. Jace reached into his wallet, pulled out a small food credit, and placed it in Lyra's hand. "If you come with me, you eat. If you don't want to, you can keep this and go. Your choice." Lyra stared at the food credit like it was a miracle. Rena stared too, her breathing shaky. "Food?" Rena whispered. "Real food," Jace said softly. warm food. The twins exchanged a look, a long, heavy look filled with fear, hope, and confusion. Lyra nodded slowly, her eyes watering. Rena squeezed her hand, silently agreeing. They stepped closer to Jace, still shaking, but willing to trust him. A little, Jace stood up and gently guided them out of the street. People stared but moved aside. A human walking with alien orphans was something no one expected to see. As they walked, Jace noticed every small movement the twins made. They were scared of loud noises, sudden steps, and even shadows. They flinched every time someone walked too close. It was clear. These children had lived in fear for a very long time, but Jace made a silent promise as he walked through the cold night with the twins beside him. They returned my wallet. They trusted me. Now I will not let them suffer anymore. And though he didn't know it yet, this simple decision would shake the entire colony. Jace walked with the twins through the dim colony streets, the cold wind still chasing their thin bodies even under his jacket. Lyra and Rena stayed so close to him they almost stepped on his shoes, but fear kept them silent. Every few seconds, one of them turned back to check if someone was following. Their instinct was survival. They had survived too long alone to trust easily. The shelter's direction was still far, but Jace knew they needed warmth now, not later. He kept glancing at them, noticing every trembling breath they took. Their small alien features were clear under the neon light's big eyes, soft skin, and tiny frames not built for this bitter human cold. As they reached a quieter corner of the colony, the twins suddenly froze. A patrol drone floated above the street red lights scanning for disturbances. The twins stiffened, their tiny fingers gripping Jace's jacket tightly. Rena whispered urgently, "Hide. Hide, humans call drones for us." Jace looked down at them, confused. "Why would they call drones for you?" Lyra shook her head. "Orphans, no home. They take us away." Jace frowned. There were rumors about alien orphan collection squads. Rumors he never believed. Until now. The drone scanned the area lazily. The girls pressed themselves against Jace's leg like terrified animals. He didn't think, he simply pulled them close and stepped into the shadow of a vending booth, shielding them from the scanner. The drone passed. Lyra let out a tiny sob she tried to hide. Rena's hands trembled so much she had to press them together. Jace's jaw tightened. Something inside him shifted. He wasn't just helping starving kids anymore. He was protecting them. He knelt to their level again. "Listen. No one is taking you anywhere, not while you're with me." The twins looked up with doubt. They wanted to believe, but life had hurt them too much. Jace reached into his pocket again and quietly tore the food credit in half. The twins gasped, thinking he ruined it. But Jace placed one half in Lyra's hand and the other in Rena's. "See this?" he said softly. "Food credit only works if both halves are together. That means if you ever get lost, you come find me. I will have the other piece. I won't leave you." Rena stared at her half, her lips trembling. Lyra clutched hers like it was life itself. No one had ever done something like this for them. Jace stood up again and started walking. "Come on, let's get you fed." They followed, this time with a little less fear and a little more hope. But something unexpected happened. A group of alien workers stood near an alley, smoking, warming their hands over a heat vent. When they saw Jace and the twins approaching, the workers exchanged looks, then stepped forward to block the path. One of them, bigger than the rest, smirked. "Human, those kids are thieves. They're trouble. Leave them to us." The twins instantly grabbed Jace's hands tightly. Their bodies stiffened like the world had turned into ice again. Jace stared calmly. "They returned my wallet." The worker laughed loudly. "Yeah, right. Alien orphans don't return anything. They lie. They steal. They disappear," Rena whispered. "Don't leave us. Please." Lyra hid behind Jace's leg again. Jace felt something hot rise in his chest, anger, sharp and protective. He stepped forward, standing tall. They didn't steal. They helped me, so move. The aliens hesitated. They weren't used to humans defending non-humans. Humans usually ignored such situations, or made them worse. The big alien approached closer. Human, you want to protect them? They're nothing. Jace didn't let him finish. His voice dropped to a cold tone the entire alley felt. They are children, and if you touch them, you won't forget what happens next. The alien stepped back instantly. Everyone knew humans weren't to be provoked physically. Humans were built like natural predators, fast, powerful, and unpredictable. The twins watched with wide eyes. No one had ever spoken for them before. No one had ever stood between them and danger. Jace took a controlled breath and walked past the workers. The twins followed quickly, clinging to his jacket again. As they reached the end of the alley, Lyra whispered softly, Why did you protect us? Rinna added, Humans don't help our kind. Jace slowed down, turned his head, and replied in a quiet voice, Because you did what was right. You returned my wallet. That makes you better than most people in this colony. The twins blinked, their eyes shining with something new, something unfamiliar. Hope Jace continued walking, unaware that behind him, the alien workers watched with confused faces. A human defending alien orphans? No one had seen that in years, and it was only the beginning of a choice that no human dared to make. Taking responsibility for children the galaxy had already abandoned. Jace led the twins through the quieter side of the colony, where the lights weren't as bright and the streets didn't buzz with crowds. The girls walked behind him like small shadows, their steps quick and nervous. Each time someone passed, they flinched and squeezed Jace's jacket tighter around their thin bodies. When the warm glow of the human relief shelter came into view, Lyra and Rinna froze again. The shelter was a tall metallic building with bright lights shining through the glass doors. The warm air leaking from the entrance felt like heaven on their skin. But something else stood in the way. Fear. Alien children weren't welcome inside. Everyone knew that. Lyra pulled Renna's hand gently. We cannot go in there, she whispered. Rinna nodded, eyes wide. They will throw us out. Humans don't like us near their places. Jace turned and looked at them. You're coming inside. You need warmth. The twins shook their heads, stepping back. Lyra whispered, Last time, soldiers hit us for standing near the door. Jace's chest tightened. How many times had these two been punished simply for existing? He knelt so they could see his eyes clearly. You're with me now. No one will touch you, understand? Their fear didn't fully disappear, but it softened enough for them to nod. He reached out a hand. Slowly, they each placed their cold little hands into his, and together they walked toward the door. As they entered, a wave of warm air hit them like a miracle. The twins gasped at the sudden comfort. Their bodies relaxed without their permission. Inside, soft lights glowed, heaters hummed quietly, and the smell of warm food floated through the hall. But the room fell silent the moment the children stepped inside. Humans eating soup turned to look. Workers carrying blankets stopped in their tracks. Even the volunteers behind the counter stared. Two alien younglings entering a human shelter under a human man's protection. It was unheard of. A tall woman with a worker badge approached. Quickly, she looked between Jace and the twins, her tone uneasy. Jace, you know the rules, she said quietly. Alien miners aren't allowed inside. We're not equipped for their species. Jace straightened his shoulders. They're freezing. They haven't eaten in days. They're just kids. That's not the point, the worker insisted. If the board finds out, they can talk to me, Jace interrupted sharply. The woman hesitated, sensing the seriousness in his tone. The twins didn't understand the conversation, but they understood the tension. They clung to the sides of Jace's jacket like their lives depended on it. A security guard walked over next to a big man with a heavy uniform, scanning the twins like potential threats. "What's going on here?" he demanded. "They're with me," Jace said. The guard frowned. "Are you sure they didn't steal something from you?" "These alien orphans. They returned my wallet," Jace snapped. "Every credit's still inside." That shut the guard up for a moment. Even the worker seemed surprised. JACE continued, his voice firm. "They need warmth, they need food, and they're not leaving." The guard looked around, unsure. "This could get us all in trouble." "Then I'll take the blame," Jace said without hesitation. Silence. The workers exchanged looks. No human had ever said something like that for alien orphans. No human had ever risked rules for kids that weren't even their species. Finally, the tall worker sighed. "Fine, but they need to stay close to you. And if anything happens, it's on you." Jace nodded. The moment he stepped farther inside. With the twins, something magical happened. The warmth hit their bones. Lyra's fingers twitched as the blood returned to them. Rena's breathing softened. Their bodies uncurled a little. A volunteer approached with 2 small bowls of soup. "Here," he said gently, bending down to their level. "It's okay, it's warm." The twins stared in disbelief. "Food? Real warm food? For them?" Lyra whispered. "For us?" "Yes." The volunteer smiled softly. "Eat slowly, it's hot." Rena lifted her spoon with shaking hands. The first sip made her eyes fill with tears, not because it burned her tongue, but because she had forgotten what warmth tasted like. Lyra covered her mouth, trying not to cry as she ate. Jace watched them carefully. These children had lived their whole lives expecting pain. And tonight, for the first time, they tasted kindness. But while they ate, a worker pulled Jace aside. "You know this can't continue," she whispered. "You helped them tonight. But what about tomorrow? And the next day? They have nowhere to go. No tribe, no home. They're unwanted." Jace didn't look away from the twins. He whispered back, "Then I'll give them a place to belong." The worker froze. "Jace, that's impossible. Humans don't adopt alien children. The colony laws," but Jace cut her off. "I don't care about the laws, I care about them." At that moment, Lyra and Rena looked up at him with smiles, soft, shy, and full of hope they didn't dare believe in yet. And Jace realized something he didn't expect. He was already attached to them. This wasn't temporary anymore. He wasn't helping strays. He was protecting family. The warmth of the shelter wrapped around Lyra and Rena like a soft blanket, but the fear inside them still didn't melt away. Every time a human walked past, they stopped eating for a second, waiting, expecting someone to shout at them or drag them away. Trauma had taught them to expect the worst. Jace watched every little movement they made. Their hands shook even while holding spoons. Their eyes kept flicking toward the exit, as if planning escape routes. He realized something painful. These children had never felt safe anywhere. But safety didn't last long. A loud buzzer echoed through the shelter, sharp, cold, official. The twins jumped, spilling soup on the table. A worker hurried toward Jace with panic in her eyes. "Jace," she whispered urgently. "The board found out. Someone sent a report. They're coming here now." Jace's jaw tightened. "Who reported them?" The worker looked away. "Someone from the crowd outside. They didn't like that you brought alien orphans here. They said it was dangerous for humans." The twins didn't understand the words, but they understood the fear in the worker's voice. Rena grabbed Lyra's hand tightly, both terrified as memories of guards, drones, and punishments returned. Lyra whispered, "Are we in trouble?" "No," Jay said firmly. "You're not." But he knew he might be. Within moments, 3 Colony officials marched inside, tall, serious faces, black badges shining under the warm lights. They looked directly at the twins. One of them sighed. "This is a restricted shelter for human civilians. Alien minors, especially orphans, are not permitted inside." The twins shrank under their gaze, pressing themselves against the bench. "They're freezing," Jace responded. "They haven't eaten in days." "That is not our concern," the lead official replied. "Protocol exists for a reason. Remove them from the premises." Lyra's breath hitched. Rena's eyes filled with tears instantly. "Please, don't take us," she whispered. One official stepped toward them. Jace moved before he even thought. He stood between the children and the officials, blocking the path with his whole body. His expression was cold, controlled, dangerous in a quiet way. "You're not touching them," he said. The room fell silent. People stared. No one had ever seen a human openly challenge the board for aliens, especially children with no tribe. "No ID, nothing." The official frowned. "Jace, step aside." "This is an order." "No," Jace said. The official's eyes hardened. "You realize refusing an order can get you banned from the colony shelter system." "I'll survive," Jace replied. "You can lose your job." "I'll handle it. You can be fined. I'll pay it." The official's voice sharpened. "These aliens are not your responsibility." Jace looked back at the twins, Lyra holding Rena protectively, both shaking, tears falling silently. Then he turned again to the official. "They returned my wallet. Every credit. They're honest. They're children. And I won't let you throw them back into the cold." The officials exchanged tense looks. The shelter staff whispered among themselves. Jace had always been a quiet, hard-working man, never causing trouble. And now he stood defiant like a shield. The lead official exhaled. "Fine," he snapped. "Have it your way. But they still can't stay here overnight. They need to be taken to the alien collection facility." The twins froze in pure terror. "No, not there. Not there," Lyra cried. "Please, please. We die there." Rena sobbed. He felt something explode inside him. He had heard of the facility: cold rooms, overcrowded beds, barely enough food, guards who didn't care. Many alien orphans disappeared inside it. "No," Jay said. "They're not going there." The official stepped forward. "And where exactly do you expect them to go?" Jace knew the answer sounded insane. Against the rules, against logic, against everything the colony allowed. But his voice was steady when he said it. "With me." The officials looked stunned. "You, a human? Taking alien minors under your protection?" "That's right." "That is not permitted." "Then change the rules," Jace said. A hush spread across the entire shelter. Workers stared. Volunteers held their breath. Even the guards by the doorway stood frozen. No one challenged the board like this. No human tried to take responsibility for alien orphans. No one ever dared. But Jace was not backing down. He placed his hands gently on Lyra and Rena's shoulders. They leaned into him instinctively, like he was the only safe place in the world. The official's voice dropped to a warning tone. "Jace, if you walk out of this building with them, you are breaking protocol." Jace didn't blink. "Then, watch me." He pulled the twins close, wrapped his big jacket around them again, and stepped past the officials, slow, steady, unafraid. Everyone watched. No one stopped him. And as the doors slid open and the cold night air hit their faces, Lyra whispered in a trembling voice, Why are you helping us?" Jace looked down and answered quietly, "Because someone has to." And with that single step into the cold, Jace broke a rule that would shake the entire colony. Asterisk. The cold night wrapped around them again as Jace walked the twins away from the shelter. The wind hit their faces, but this time it didn't feel as harsh because they were wrapped inside Jace's jacket and protected by his presence. Still, their small bodies shook, not just from the cold, but from fear of what would come next. They had disobeyed the board. They had followed a human. And humans, in their world, never stayed kind for long. Jace kept walking until they reached a quieter part of the colony. Abandoned street lamps, empty benches, and distant hums of machinery. He sat on one of the benches and gently pulled the twins closer, giving them space to breathe. "You two need to tell me something," Jace said softly. "Why were you alone? Why no home? Why no adults with you?" Lyra looked away, wiping her nose with her sleeve. Rena hugged her knees tightly, avoiding eye contact. Both were silent for several seconds. Jace didn't pressure them. He just waited. Finally, Lyra whispered, "Because our mother died." Rena nodded slowly, tears forming. "She got sick. Very sick." Jace lowered his head. "I'm sorry." Lyra continued, voice cracking. "She told us to be brave," she said. "One day someone might help us." Rena finished quietly, but no one ever did. The wind blew softly. Their tiny voices sounded like breaking glass in the cold night. Jace swallowed hard. "What about your tribe? Your people?" The twins exchanged a look, a painful, heavy look. "We were banished," Lyra whispered. Rena added, "They said we were too weak, not useful, not worth food." Jace's stomach tightened in anger. "They abandoned children? Because you were weak?" Lyra nodded. "Our bones hurt easily. We get cold faster. The tribe said feeding us was a waste." Jace clenched his fists without realizing it. How could any species throw away their own children? Lyra continued, "So they left us outside the tribe gate. They closed the wall. We cried, we begged. They didn't open." Rena's tears rolled silently. "We lived in an old crate behind the market, until someone found it and took it away." Jace felt a burst of rage he hadn't felt in years. Not at them, but at the universe that allowed this. He lowered his voice, calm but rough. "You survived all this alone?" The twins nodded. "And you returned my wallet, even though you could have used it to buy food?" Another nod. Jace exhaled slowly, deeply. These children were more human in heart than most humans he knew. Then Rena looked up, her voice shaking. "We didn't tell you everything." Jace leaned closer. "Go on." Rena wiped her tears with a trembling hand. "The collection facility. When they catch alien kids, they don't help them. They hurt them," Lyra whispered. "They punish them. They experiment sometimes." Jace froze. "The rumors were true," Rena continued. "We saw children taken in. We never saw them come out again." Jace felt a coldness in his chest that had nothing to do with the weather. The colony hid a monstrous truth, and he would rather die than let these twins fall victim to it. Lyra looked up at him suddenly, her eyes wide with fear. "And now, because you helped us, they will punish you too." Jace shook his head. "They can try." The twins were stunned. No adult had ever said that for their sake. No one had ever stood up for them. No one had ever risked anything for them. Rena whispered, Why do you care so much?" Jace didn't answer right away. Instead, he thought about the life he had lived, the mistakes, the regrets, the loneliness, the feeling of walking through the galaxy with no purpose. Then he thought of these two small trembling children, abandoned by everyone, still choosing honesty and kindness despite their suffering. Finally, he said quietly, "Because helping you is the first thing that feels right in a long time." The twins stared at him, shocked. Lyra whispered, "But humans fear aliens, hate aliens." "Not this human," Jay said firmly. Rena leaned closer, her voice breaking with hope and fear. "Will you leave us too?" "Everyone leaves." Jace didn't hesitate. "No, I won't leave." Both twins froze. Those three words, simple, gentle, soft, hit them like a warm wave. They didn't know how to react. No one had ever said such words to them. Lyra suddenly hugged his arm, her small fingers tightening desperately. Rena followed, pressing her forehead against his sleeve. Their bodies shook, but this time from crying, not fear. Jace placed a hand on each of their heads. "You're not alone anymore," he said softly. "Not while I'm here." In that moment, under a flickering streetlight, the truth finally came out. The twins didn't just need warmth. They didn't just need food. They needed a human who chose them. And Jace decided he would never let the galaxy hurt them again. They had no idea that his next choice would shake the entire colony to its core. The night grew darker, but Jace didn't move from the bench. Lyra and Rena sat close to him, wrapped in his jacket, leaning against him like he was the only warm place in the universe. Every breath they took was shaky, every movement small and careful, but for the first time they weren't hiding. They weren't running. They were resting. Jace looked at their exhausted faces, sunken cheeks, tired eyes, tiny hands clutching his sleeve even in sleepiness. They had been fighting for survival far too long. He couldn't let them go back to that life. Not after everything he'd learned. He stood up slowly. "Come on," he said gently. "We're going somewhere safe." The twins blinked up at him. "Safe?" Lyra repeated, confused. "For us?" Rena whispered. "Double quotes, yes," Jace said. "For you." They followed him with small, unsure steps, like leaving the bench might break the moment of peace they were finally feeling. The colonies. Lights flickered in the distance. Far away, the shelter alarm had gone silent. But the board's influence still hung over the night like a shadow dot as Jace walked. He made a decision, one that no human had made in this colony before. He wasn't just going to protect the twins. He was going to keep them. He walked toward the administrative registration tower, an old building humans use for ID renewal, housing requests, and legal guardianship submissions. At this hour, only night clerks staffed it. The twins hesitated at the door. Where are we going?" Rena whispered. "There are people inside," Lyra said nervously. "People who make rules." Jace looked back at them with a small smile. "I'm going to change a rule tonight." They didn't understand, but they followed him inside. The lobby was empty. Only one clerk sat behind a desk, half asleep, typing something lazily. When he saw Jace walk in, he straightened up. "Late night request?" "What do you need?" he asked. Jace stepped forward calmly. "I want to register for guardianship." The clerk stretched his neck. "All right. Human minor or adult assisted?" "Alien." "Minors," Jace interrupted. The clerk froze. "What?" "Alien minors," Jace repeated, gently pulling Lyra and Rena forward so the clerk could see them. The twins shrank behind Jace instantly, fear rising again. They had never been in any building where the rules were written to keep them out. The clerk's eyes widened. "Sir, humans cannot register alien children. It's against colony order." Jace leaned forward. "Show me where it says that." The clerk blinked. It's just known." "That means it's not written," Jace said. "Show me the law." The clerk hesitated, then began scrolling through the database. His hands moved nervously. After a long minute, he frowned. There's no written rule," he admitted. "It's just tradition. Humans don't do this." Jace nodded. "I'm not asking about tradition. I'm asking about law." The clerk swallowed. "Technically, it is not prohibited." "Good," Jace said. "Start the paperwork." The twins stared at him, their mouths slightly open. "For U.S.?" Lyra whispered. "You're registering." "U.S.?" Rena asked in disbelief. Jace knelt beside them. "Do you want a home? A place where you're safe? A place where no one can take you away?" The twins stared at each other, fear, hope, confusion, and longing all mixed on their faces. Slowly, very slowly, they nodded. "Double quotes, yes," Lyra whispered. We want that," Rena said. Jay smiled softly. Then I'm giving it to you. The clerk printed the forms, still shocked. Sir, this will make you their legal protector. This is serious. If the board challenges it, let them challenge it, Jace replied. I'll fight them. The twins held their breath as Jace signed the documents, his name connecting to theirs like an official bond tying their lives together. When the clerk stamped the papers, the sound echoed through the room like a thunderclap. It was done. Lyra covered her mouth, tears falling silently. Rena dropped to her knees, overwhelmed by something she had never felt before. Relief. We have a home? She whispered. Jace pulled them both into his arms. Yes, with me. The clerk looked at the trio, this tall human man kneeling on the floor, hugging two tiny alien girls who clung to him like they'd found life again. He whispered to himself, This will change everything. And he was right. By morning, news spread across the colony. A human adopted two alien orphans. The story flew through markets, streets, shelters, and tribes. Humans whispered in shock. Aliens spoke in awe. The board panicked, but the people began to question everything. If one human could show this much kindness, what else were they wrong about? But for Lyra and Rena, none of that mattered. All they cared about was the warm hand holding theirs. All they cared about was finally hearing the words they thought they would never hear. In their lifetime, you're safe now. And for the first time in their small, painful lives, they believed it.